About is, well, when they get to their teens, what if they kind of kick back against that and they're cooking for themselves and, maybe getting drunk a lot and stuff like that, and all of that can play havoc with your diabetes. So it's just that thing of really hoping they're going to be okay once they have to go out in the world for themselves.
It's very easy, I think, to think, oh, well, we're doing the very short-term things. It's getting the glucose testing right and the insulin injections and all this sort of stuff. But actually, it's what's clear is how we deal with this chronic condition is how do you ensure that somebody really becomes quite motivated, and how do you maintain that motivation over, in the individual's case, at lifelong, but certainly in the parent's case, over the next 10, 15 or 20 years. And that's the real challenge.
Going from a child with diabetes to a teenager with diabetes is one, letting them, they've got more control over their own diabetes, more when they're a child, it's mum or dad that's looking after the diabetes. One thing, you don't want them to think that diabetes will stop them doing anything. They can lead a healthy life and do anything.
There's always horrific times when you make an error, right? Like, you give the injection and then you realise you hadn't done any air shots, so it was a new file of insulin, so you can't be sure how much insulin they've now got. Obviously, you then take action to make sure that they're okay once that's happened. But don't beat yourself up about it. You're only human. You've got to do this stuff all the time.
As time goes on, you'll become the expert, and you'll know, as you get used to diabetes, what's going to work and what's not going to work.
They go into phenomenal levels of detail, much more than you need to know, and they start talking about these basic assumptions that they've got about it, which you've no idea what they're talking about.
Rate insulin scheme we're on, which is basal bolus. The bolus is for food, like Novorapid, and the basal is like background to hold you down throughout the day so you don't go high.
They know so much about it that it's almost hard for them to explain to somebody who doesn't know about it what it is.
The blood sugar testing allows you to try and balance the amount of insulin they have with the amount of energy they use each day and the amount of food that they eat. So those three things sound quite simple, but when you're talking about an 18-month-old, you're trying to predict, when you give them an injection at 8 o'clock, how much running around they're going to do before they get to their lunch. So don't be too worried about doing lots of blood tests, because when they're little, you need to see what's happening.
It may look terrible at the beginning. There's so much going on, so much to learn. You think you'll never do it. You will. People do, and they do the most amazing things.
Your life changes quite a lot when you have a child with diabetes, and there's a lot of stuff to do, and it's quite stressful and things like that. But it does sort of become normal. And you do become used to it, and then you can focus on the other, in a way, more important things in life.
It does get better and life gets easier and you'll get through this. And my son will say the same, is that, life, you can be healthy with diabetes and you can live life to the full.